All right, so let's talk about drawing from a chest rig. There's a couple things we want to do, A, to keep ourselves from shooting ourselves, and B, to get a good grip on the firearm so we can put effective shots on our targets. The first thing we're going to want to do is clear our non-firing arm, right? We don't want it to be in the way of this area where the muzzle's at. So we're going to put it up here as we draw. So threat, okay, this hand's coming up here. Second thing we're going to do is this hand's going to come here, and what we want is to get this web of our hand, right, in between the thumb and the forefinger, as high up onto this beaver tail as we can possibly get it, right? So we want to cram that up there as high as we can get it, right? I'm almost to the point where my hand's going to get smacked by the slide when it reciprocates. I want it that high. So I'm getting high up on the grip, okay? Now when we pull this gun out of the holster, the tendency is to do this, okay? And flare that elbow out wide to get that gun out. What's going to happen if you do that, you're going to come out like this, and this gun's going to do a kind of a big whip motion, right? So how we alleviate that is we drive an elbow back, okay? We're pulling and driving the elbow straight back, then we can drive straight forward. So it's going to look like this, okay? Back, forward. All right, and I'll do this elbow flaring method and show you how much the gun will whip, right? You see how far this comes out? Instead of straight here and straight out, it's much more efficient that way. If we come out, we gotta contend with this big kind of sideways throw kind of motion going on. So it's back here, punch out, okay? Now when we're getting here, all right, we're here. Our eyes are on our threat, but we're kind of looking for this front sight to show up in our vision, because that's how we shoot a pistol accurately, is we focus on this front sight. So once my eyes start seeing that front sight in my peripheral as it's coming up, okay, now they're focusing on it. Now that front sight needs to be perfectly clear. And as it's coming onto target, we can start breaking shots, okay? But we don't want to focus on the threat. And, you know, at the range, it's difficult at the range to focus on the front sight because you want to look at your target. It's going to be even more difficult looking at a bear charging you and not focusing on the bear. So the more you can practice this, and you don't even have to expend ammo to do this, you can just practice your draw, practice getting your eye to go to that front sight, and then as soon as the front sight is over the target, you can squeeze the trigger, and you can dry fire that all day long, and that will help you immensely. You don't have to come out to the range and expend ammo. So it's going to be here, okay? Now I can see the front sight. It's on top of the target. Boom. Okay? Now, if the bear is super close, right, and we want to get shots on target fast, we can start shooting as soon as we get that muzzle orientated towards the target. And if that thing is close, you know, it's 10 feet away, this is good enough. We can start laying down rounds from here, okay? We can lay down rounds here. We can, and then keep punching out. If we, you know, if we get shots on the bear and it starts having an effect, you know, the bear turns to bite the bullet wound or whatever, you know, we can step off the side and we can keep engaging, right? But if it's super close, we don't have to come clear to here to shoot. As soon as that gun clears the holster and your hand is not in the way, you can start shooting. And if, you know, the bear's right here, 10 feet or less, you're going to have effective shots. You know, it might not be exactly where you want to go, but you'll start getting shots on the bear, and that can buy you time to get more shots that are more effective. All right. Now, you saw what I did when I put the gun back in the holster, okay? You know, we're at the range, I'm shooting, I'm practicing. Now I want to put my gun back in my holster. Two things, okay? This hand comes back up here out of the way, and I'm looking at the holster. When I put this gun in, I'm looking down at it, okay? So those two things will keep you from having, you know, an accident at the range, clearing that arm, looking at the holster, and then when you're drawing, clearing that arm, bringing it out, and making sure you don't swipe this hand down in front of the muzzle as you come out. So practice those, practice a ton of them, dry fire, and let me know how you like it. All right, so here's drawing from a pack mount holster, right? So generally your pack waist belt rides a bit higher than your pants belt, so this is going to be kind of high. So one thing you can do is you can lean to the side, right? So I'm going to lean this way. That'll help me get enough room. If I got a heavy load or if I don't have a ton of shoulder mobility, leaning can help you get this gun out of the holster, okay? So same thing applies. We want to get this web really high up into the beaver tail, okay? Get it high, and then we want to rotate and get that on target, okay? Same thing here. We can start shooting once we're on target. We can start shooting here if bear's close. If it's far away, we probably want to punch out and get our, get a better aim, get sight picture and everything. So from here, rotate, okay? Whenever I'm wearing a bino harness, I just end up with my hand up here. Generally, if you just go to a shooting class or something, you're taught to put your hand somewhere between your belly button and your sternum. So wherever you're used to doing, the thing we want to do, the point of that is to get this hand out of the way in case we need to shoot here. So that's the whole point of all this, is to get this hand back here out of the way. So if we need to engage a close threat, we can from here without shooting our hand. Okay, so wherever that ends up being for you, mine just ends up here when I have a bino harness on. So I'm here, rotating on target. Now as I'm coming out, this hand is coming down to meet the gun, and then I can engage. So that's drawing from a pack mount. All right, caveat to that. Once we draw, okay, we're going to do the same thing in reverse. This hand's going to break away and come back here, so it's always out of the way. And we're going to look the gun into the holster. Now, the reason we're doing that is to make sure things like this are not in the holster where they can get inside the trigger guard and cause an ND, or some of your clothes, right? You saw my video the other day when I was wearing my puffy. That thing kept getting in the way of everything. So when I am putting my gun back in the holster, okay, I want to look it in the holster and make sure nothing's obstructing it. And that's another great point on your straps. You don't want this stuff in the way. If it's dangling around and you happen to get your hand in there, right, look what happens. I can't punch out and shoot effectively. I'd have to shoot from here or try and let go, right? So what we want to do is get all these straps tucked in somewhere where that's not going to happen, okay?